Yeah, I'd like to call the public hearing to order. We have a public forum hearing for the purpose of discussing use of monies from the trust funds. We have 3 items on the agenda for the Facilities Expendable Trust Fund, and another item, a separate line for monies from the Equipment Expendable Trust Fund. So I was not here last meeting to take part in a lot of the discussion. I've been brought up to speed probably as best as I can. So I might lean on you guys a little bit in facilities. There's a lot of detailed questions. So the first item on the agenda is the middle school wing window replacements. And you can see in your packet, we have the quotes for those. And this is an item that, we've been discussing now for a couple years, year and a half, 2 years. And I think we broke it down. I think the window project is kind of fully encompassing of the whole school. It's just that, I think the middle school was prioritized as far as, windows that aren't functioning properly, or, they might be the oldest ones. So as you look through your packet, the quote we have on that for the replacement, it looks like 14 windows. Yeah, for a total of $25,515. So we'll open that up to any discussion, any questions. Does anybody on the board have any questions from that? Okay. Public?
What kind of windows are they?
So we're looking at, what do we got here?
1,000, it's the top one, I believe, right?
There's 11 on the top one and then 3 on the bottom.
Okay. So that is a welded vinyl RW2 light, double glazed, low E-argon filled, tempered window. And then there's 3, I guess, different size, larger window. They look to be the same.
J-Win.
Sorry?
The name is J-Win Windows.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing that on here.
Are they the same ones that we replaced? Same brand that we replaced a couple years ago?
Mark?
Yeah.
You say you had quotes, did this go out to bid, or is it going out to bid? As we
Same.
started advertising, if I'm asking.
Yeah, facilities, I don't know.
I think it had gone out to bid in the past. This was,
And he gave it back to him because he had the winning bid from the last time we agreed to, between him and the other company.
we had done this when you were on,
But
towards the end of last year.
So I guess we're working off bids that we had the last
And
time
they
we
were the
put
winning-
this out.
So if you appropriate some money, it's gonna go out to bid again. Is this person honoring a price from several years ago?
No, they're honoring their price. That's
Well, I think
what
they
we-
gave us a new price, because I think the original quote was probably 22,000?
yes, and let me clarify something. There's one window that's been added.
Okay.
So that's why the price has gone up.
Yeah, so I guess, the purpose tonight would be to appropriate that number, and then, I guess we would bid, send it out to bid from there. I mean, we have this one price, but, that's the process we normally follow, correct? Yeah.
So we used the number of before, if we had gone forward with this, they were the best price at that time. We had Mark contact them just to verify that they're still back up their thing. And so as of the 11th of this month, just a few days ago, they came back and said that, yes, these numbers are good, so.
But we'll definitely get a competing bid to make sure that,
If we can.
yeah, we'll ask for competing bids, obviously, to make sure that that number's not out of line. Anything else on the windows?
Just curious, how come it's not coming out of a regular budget if we've known about it that long? Why, I thought the trust fund was for like emergencies or something.
No, the trust fund doesn't have to be for emergencies. There's nothing that says it does.
No, because we voted it 2 years ago to come out of the trust fund.
Yeah.
And then what happened was, then we kind of jumped into looking at a performance contract to encompass the windows and a whole bunch of other projects. And then when that fell through this fall, the performance contract, now they're going back and,
So technically, the money's already been appropriated.
it had, but now we're
It had,
going, because
yeah.
at that point, they said, let's stop.
You know, I think the other thing too, you know, might not be this particular case, but, you know, given the history over the years, we put things like this in the budget, and then we get the budget season and everybody says, you know, oh, we've got
Reduce it by-
$115,000 in facilities trust fund, why don't we take that out, and then taking out so I think we're kind of cutting that step out, that we seem to go around that loop all the time, my opinion anyway. So any further questions or comments on that one item? No?
I'll make a motion to appropriate $25,515, or up to $25,515 for the middle school window project out of the Facilities Trust Fund.
Thank you, Matt.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brian. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So the next item on the list is the high school gymnasium air conditioner. So I know we started experiencing issues with this, of course, on the day of graduation, the only day you don't, the last day you want it to happen, of course. It was quite toasty in there. So we have a price and a quote. Off the top of your head, you know who our quote is from?
Train.
It's from Train? Okay. So I think the quote for replacement on this is $46,740. And, you know, Mark could probably speak more to this, or maybe facilities. I think the rationale was, you know, we looked at the avenue of repairing it. I believe the unit is 14 or 15 years old, and I believe the repair cost was going to be close to half of that figure.
Yeah, it's 23, right in, yeah, almost half of it.
Almost half of it.
Repairing what?
Basically what it is the leaks developed in between the lines on the condenser side, through things and whatnot. And we had training come out, they detected the leaks, and they said it was unrepairable. We had to replace all the, what do they call it, condenser coils, and then the compressors also, one compressor was bad, the other one was torch. You see, it's R-22, and we're not gonna be able to get the R-22 in another year. They're gonna stop producing it. So, it was a toss-up, we could repair that, pull it out, it cost them, I think it was $27,000, and then have it on something that we're not gonna get parts for anymore. That was the rationale behind it, one new one. You check with Wicked Cool for different units other than the train. Well, the nice part about the train is that it would be a plug and play. We take out what's there, and then we fit directly in its place. Save a lot of work on that.
And this will be, continue to be part of our maintenance contract, like
It's
the
on the
previous
maintenance.
units
It is on the
was?
maintenance,
Yeah, no, I
yes.
know, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that it
Oh.
continues to stay there, because I think there might have been information that it wasn't part of our maintenance, or certainly that someone had asked that question before.
Working it all, huh?
Green and cold air just on the economy.
So if you're in the,
It's warm in there now with nobody in
I was gonna say,
there.
if you're in the gym for any period of time,
Or for a
it
basketball
doesn't feel
game
like
or
it's
something,
working.
assembly,
Yeah.
it gets really warm.
Has the exhaust fan been hooked back up?
The exhaust fan has been working. The exhaust fan is no longer operating on pressure. It works on carbon dioxide levels that are in the room. That's what the small box is by the multi-purpose room on the wall. And basically what it is when the carbon dioxide gets too high, then that'll open up and pull the air out. I have the engineer's report of how it's operating, if you'd like to see it.
But the exhaust fan was supposed to operate on the fresh air.
Originally. When they first had it in there, and there was concerns about the humidity levels, when it was the rainy days, when the conduit would open, it would pull in humidity air in there and cause problems with the floor. So they decided to only have it operate on the,
Doesn't make any sense, because now
Well-
you can't get any hot air out of the gym.
well, it pulls in from the gym, through the cooler. that big vent that's on the wall, that's where he takes the air from inside the gym to hot air.
It recirculates.
To the cold, it cools it off. But to get fresh air in there, the only way you can get fresh air in there is when that other fan exhaust fan works. And that's when it's necessary, when the carbon dioxide levels get to more than 600 parts per million, they cause that other fan to operate.
Because you can't get the hot air out of it.
Well, you can get the, I don't know anything about the system. When I sit there as a person who knows nothing about the system, just saying, it's really warm, the air does start to move. Something kicks on and starts to move, and then it cools off a little bit, and the air starts to
That's
circulate.
because you're circulating the air. The way that it originally is designed.
But we need to be able to cool it and manage that gym.
When that exhaust fan kicks on, well, actually, when you have a call for outside air, it pressurizes the building. That exhaust fan is supposed to kick on when it opens up to a certain spot. Take the pressure out of the building, and the exhaust, you push all that air down to the floor, and the exhaust fan takes it out of the ceiling. That's how you get the hot air out of the building.
Right. What is it? But I don't understand what that has to do with the air conditioner. Does that have any?
Well, just, Wayne Killian designed the first one, and he also designed the second system. They offer sale.
It can't be operating right if it's set up that way, it can't be. Even in Wayne Clean's reports, it says to hook up the exhaust fan.
Have you seen the latest one?
I don't know, evidently I have.
All right, well, we're not gonna, we've been talking about this project for a while, too. This isn't something that came up last week and we decided to do, so.
Well, no, I mean, what's gonna prevent this from happening again? If you've got all that hot air in there, what's gonna prevent this from happening again? That unit's just gonna keep running and trying to cool the hot air that's in there. I would have it, if it was me, I would have an engineer actually look at it a little bit closer, because we're not getting the hot air out of the gym. So that unit's gonna think it's hot in there all the time and just keep running and running and running and kill itself again. Just my opinion.
Okay.
If that's the case, I mean, I would agree with you if that's the case. We should probably have someone look at it just to make sure, but, I mean, as for now, we definitely want to get the new air conditioning system because it's hot now in December.
Well, yes, but the point is, just, I wouldn't put it in until you, well, you're gonna have to put it in no matter what.
Right,
It's that
yeah.
dead.
Right.
But why put it in the system if it's just
Right,
gonna
and I
burn
don't know
out?
how that system operates, like Matt said, but, I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, it's January and it's warm in there, so I'd like to get something before it's June, because I mean, you were probably at graduation, I think, it was
Oh,
stuffy,
Yeah.
so, to say the least, so.
Is it operating enough to keep it within the 15% moisture flex?
I think it is, yeah.
The moisture's been right on.
Without it, since all
It
summer?
does, it does vary, but it doesn't vary any great distance from what it normally is. There's no spikes or anything like that, which was a big concern.
Yeah, I think we're fortunate right now that it's down during a normally low humidity time, winter is obviously a little drier. But yeah, that's one of the questions I asked Mark earlier too, was, how have those readings been coming in? Because that was one of the big issues with putting the new flooring in, is making sure we didn't have these wild spikes up and down that we had before. And he assured me that the readings are within the levels.
So I'll make a motion to expend up to $46,740 for the replacement of the air conditioning unit from the Facilities Trust Fund.
Thank you, Matt.
I'll second.
Thank you, Vance. Just a little further discussion. So who would be installing the unit?
So this one was trained.
So Trane, it's their product, they deliver it, they install it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the only other question I had. Anybody had anything else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And the third item under the Facilities Expendable Trust Fund is the engineering services for the elementary heating system. As most of you know, if you were here last meeting or many, many meetings as they've gone on the last couple of years, we've had, it's been on the docket for a while that we need to do something about the oil tanks that are in the ground, and I think, facilities had met and discussed this several times about which direction to go. So I think right now we're looking at, down the road, a complete replacement of the heating system, correct?
Yeah,
In
and there was an
elementary school.
advisory committee that was formed at one point a couple years ago to look
Right.
into it and visit other schools about different heating systems with the intention of looking at replacing the whole system. So this has been something that's been going on and was stalled by the performance contract again to see if we could put everything into one package and get the returns.
So again, not-
Greater returns.
Yeah, so not being here last meeting, I looked through the minutes, and I know facilities was presented with a couple different options, and I think it said in the notes, option 2, as far as the solution, and that's kind of where this is all geared towards. So I think the rationale was, instead of just putting, that large price tag towards just replacing the tanks, we're looking into doing,
Dual burners. And Brian, I don't know.
Do you have that in
Brian,
front of
if you
you?
want to talk about it.
if you could just give a brief. So I think, well, just going off your minutes, it says, redo the full heating system, replacing boilers in the elementary and control systems.
Yeah.
So this initial money we're looking at is to have, I believe, Wayne Fillion again
Right.
come
Correct.
in and engineer the system for us.
To have the engineering put together so that we can go forward with the project.
Okay.
Our opinion, that option 2 is the best option, as well as adding on to that, and that'll come with discussions with Wayne to having a dual fired system as well. So that's not listed in there, but that was the other thing that we discussed.
So we're at the point right now of having him come in and do the engineering and give us an idea of what we need, and then a price from there, which we then look at down the road as far as presenting to voters, on a warrant, or depending on the size.
Yeah.
We talk about warrant or bond, whatever works best in that
So
regard.
it'll be the design engineering for the project at this point.
Right. And
Not
so-
reports or discussions anymore, actually doing the job. But
And,
to get it underway, we need to pay him some money,
yeah,
just like we've done in the past with, say, Stewart and the science project.
and the number I'm seeing is $26,500 for that.
And that's his fee, and it's, I can run down a few of the things, but acting as the consultant for the district, providing mechanical engineering services for the project, coordinate the work with us and with the company that does the work in the school system, site work, as required, verifying existing conditions, complete comprehensive documents, soliciting competitive bids and construction, develop a mechanical and electrical construction documents as required for pricing and construction, review the mechanical and electrical shop drawings, assist in project bidding and administration, including contractor selection, payment schedules, address, contractor submitted request forms, oversee, inspect construction, and file reports for record with the office. So essentially being a project manager as well as an engineer, someone knowledgeable on the project.
Okay. And as far as the project and what we've discussed in the past, we've gotten extensions on, because we're, I guess we say, out of compliance with these tanks. So you feel confident that we get this plan together, that we get another extension on that now that we have some true direction?
Yeah, we would request Wayne to contact the state on our behalf and explain the situation and what the board wants, the steps, the chronology that the board has gone through over a few years, and that it's in good faith that the board is going to move forward with the project.
Okay. Community, questions, comments?
You're talking these options and stuff, Tony, is that from the February 23rd letter from Yenton?
Yes.
February 23rd.
I'm not against these. I mean, back when I first, 9 years ago, I started this, and I feel that, yes, we're behind time, we gotta get something going. And then I was on all these committees. Then last year, that committee that we had got stopped. And then, all of a sudden, this school got picked to be wanted to get done. What made that happen? When the system in the high school was over.
My understanding is that's because this one's out of compliance, and we're gonna get in trouble with the state if we don't replace it
And I've
soon.
been hearing that since I've been here, and I've mentioned it several times. The tank is in compliance. I talked to DES on Monday again. Got quotes, I know. You get online, it's all public information. The piping from the tank into the building is what's not in compliance. The tank is compliant. I ain't lying to you. Call them up.
No, Mark said that many times to us, that it's the piping.
Right, but I just heard it again.
Well, I think
said
it's
the
just
system.
make
I
a
misspoke.
general
The
statement.
system is
Instead
not,
of
is
tank.
not compliant.
The piping, point A to
Right.
point B. And you sent a letter to, not you guys, the district sent a letter to the state on October 12th, telling them we're pulling the tank. I mean, how could you do that? We don't know we're pulling the tank. The voters haven't voted to do any of this. Why was a letter sent to the state on October 12th? I really.
I can't answer that.
No. But it's been like it's been thrown out there all the time, oh, the tank's not in compliance, the tank's in, like a scare tactic. The tank's in compliance. I'll agree with you, yes, they're 20-something years old, but they keep passing the test. They pass the leakless test, they pass the cathodic protection. I mean, I deal in this, I know, I know Chuck down here. I ain't stepping, throwing anybody on the bus by calling them up. Go on your computer, you can look all this information, you see the letters that go back and forth. It's public information. It's not a, it just seems like it's a scare tactic. We've looked at a lot of things, and I agree biomass probably isn't the thing to look at. But we've got a school down there that has problems. Maybe we should be looking at the big picture. We tried to do a couple of times, and it always, committees are committees. I realize that. But maybe we should have one central plant that runs both schools. I mean,
So when you talk about scare tactic, are you saying that we're throwing that out as a scare tactic, or they're throwing that out at us as a scare tactic?
no, it seems like it's been coming, and I realize where you're getting, you guys don't know, but I've heard it even tonight, I think, the tanks are out of compliance. The tank isn't out of compliance. The piping is. There's two different things.
So how much?
That's like saying,
Well, hold on one second, because I remember this number being pretty large to fix the piping, wasn't, what was it?
67,000.
67,000. Say it
that
again?
was from one person, that wasn't a bid. It was just from the people that did your design for you, that got submitted and got approved to be done. That was just an estimate. It wasn't that it went out on the street to bid.
Oh,
We're dealing with one vendor.
I know that, but I mean, you have to get something in order to be in the ballpark. You can't tell me that.
It ain't in the ball.
Okay.
How much would you like to do it for?
What's that?
Fix the pipe? You know,
Fix the pipe.
no, I'm asking, well, you said you do this. You talk to these people, I'm asking you, what would be a viable price then? You must know what a viable price is. If our price is out of this world, for my education, I'm trying to understand what's a viable price.
I haven't seen
40,000?
plans in 2 or 3 years.
10,000?
No, it's more than that.
Well, I guess, we're sitting in the seat of, as you know, because you've been here, we're weighing, okay, we're saying the number is 60,000, you're saying maybe that number is off. We're weighing, do we spend that number, for something,
No, I agree.
or do we apply that money towards
No, I
a
totally-
bigger
that's why I
fix?
said I totally agree with
Yeah.
that. But I think instead of moving forward, trying to, saying the tanks, we're going for the tanks, you're good until September 12th or something like that, or 19. The tank's good anyway, it's the plumbing. You don't have to nothing until then, at least notify them, okay? Slow down, take a look, maybe have the engineer, get some engineering done and do a plant that'll do both buildings, because before this bond's paid off, or however you're gonna fund it, you're gonna have to be doing something down the street. And there's different reports, the ones that you have from JCI, and some of those, they talk about one central heating plant to do both buildings. I'm not against, I realize we need heat, yes, and I was the one that started all this crap a long time ago. But I think it needs to slow down just a little bit, take a bigger look at the big picture, and maybe do one big central plant that can do both buildings. And in those reports, they even say that the boilers that you have in this building could do both buildings if they had to. No, that isn't the right thing to do, I'm not saying that, okay, but it ain't like, I'm just trying to give you a perspective, you're not talking huge building to do it. It's just, no, I agree, you should have some money, but to go with this, this report that you're going on option 2, that comes back from when we had that biomass committee. That's how that got generated. And that committee wanted to get some engineering. And it really wasn't what we thought we were gonna get. Because all we did was said, oh, yes, okay, let's agree to do this. And I think we appropriated somewhere around $5,000 to do it. I don't know how much it cost. To come up with 2 simple pages of two options for each building. And it wasn't what we thought we were gonna get on that committee. And we never met again as that committee because it got put to bed. But we were heading down the road looking at one huge, not huge, I shouldn't say that, one plan to take care of both buildings. That's still an option.
Who on the board was on that committee?
I was.
You were?
I mean, the problem I see, I guess, is, and you'll understand the frustration, the only thing I can do is take a guy, Wayne Fillion's information, and information that I'm given to educate me on this concept, and move forward with an idea. Now, the problem is, I think that happens at this school, not for nothing, is nothing gets done. Nothing.
I
This
feel your
is a place
frustration.
full of concept projects. That's all we are. We concept projects, we come up with one. You've been on this, discussing this for 9 years. Nothing gets done. This is the most information we've put on this to talk about spending money at one given time since I've been here, and God knows how long before that. And if we just keep rolling back, which we can, but at that point, we're not gonna have anything. Because we want to talk about it for another 3 years, we can. I don't,
What's a couple months gonna go out of you?
because it was a couple months 2 years ago, and it was a couple months 3 years
You're
ago.
sitting in the driver's seat on the facilities committee, you gotta move it forward. Can't just let it roll off after you talk about it one time.
Well, I
I
think you,
understand your frustration, I know how it works, and it just doesn't happen that way, but it needs to happen that way. And on this report, the one that you're saying you're basing all your information on, he wasn't directed to look at that time. He did what he was told to do.
I think you made the point that it's up to the facilities committee to move forward and, make a suggestion to move forward, and that's where we are. And to Brian's point about, putting things off, I feel like we're back in this situation with the gym floor, where it was like, let's do this, let's do that, we're rushing, or some people felt that way, and then at the end of the day, we were right to begin with. We just waited 2 years to get the exact thing we were gonna get in the first place. I feel like we've done a fair amount of due diligence. I mean, you can disagree with that, and you feel like we should do more. I guess that's up to the board to decide tonight, if we wanna table this and do that, or move forward with the way the facilities has recommended it.
Well, Doug, we're replacing all the controls, all the systems in here, all the heating out there, just because the piping is bad? Is that?
No, because if we're
wouldn't-
gonna expend that
yeah.
much money, if we're gonna expend that much money to do that, why not take a look at everything that might need to be done in the next couple of years? Because the system's gonna have to be dealt with. So instead of spending $60,000 to $70,000 now for the piping, and then in 2 years, because we kicked the can, say, well, now we have to spend another $300,000 when we could roll it all into one project and take care of it for that amount now. That's trying to say, being good stewards of the funds. I feel like oftentimes, just let me finish, Mike, and I'll let you go. Oftentimes, we spend years looking at projects like this, and then we get to this meeting and we're being told, or word gets out that we're just flying seat of our pants doing something, and it's unfair. We're not experts on any of this. All we can do is go by the information we're given from experts that we receive the information from. But this concept that we're always moving too fast, when in fact, we're probably moving too slow. And we've got to do something. And I don't personally feel like we need to keep waiting and doing more and more. I mean, we stalled everything 2 years ago to look at this performance contract. That was a big waste of time, We got nothing out of it.
What is wrong with the system in here, though? That we're replacing? What's wrong with the controls in this building?
Well, I don't think we're at the point right now that we're replacing anything.
Oh, I thought you guys said we were replacing all the controls and everything in the whole building. I'm
we're looking at the engineering for it to see what it would all be and what everything, all the parts that would go into it.
Oh, I'm confused. I thought we were bidding on, you guys were gonna,
No, we don't have a number for the project, you know.
We
you know,
can't,
we're
we can't do
spending-
that. The town has to approve that. We're just getting information to give
I was
them.
confused. I
It's
thought
all
we
right.
were replacing everything in here without.
Well, we're looking at maybe doing that.
It's 26.5 for the engineering, Joe, to design all the
Right,
controls and
yes,
heat
and see what that
environments
costs.
and everything.
Yes.
But that's his mission to do. That's exactly what he's being
Right.
asked to do.
What would it cost to replace everything and get a new system in here that's more state of the
But
art?
then to do that system would have to go to the public again.
Yes.
Yeah, we can't do it. That has to be through a bond hearing, which yeah.
And when the report, and the engineering report comes back, you know, we'll know if it's really necessary to replace all the things we're talking about with the whole system. You know, as you know, there might be things where they say, no, okay, this is gonna be great for another 30 years, this part of it, or not. You know, so
We're
we
just
will-
trying to collect more information to give to the public so that they can make, it's their money.
Yeah,
I was asking, you guys are gonna appropriate money to replace.
I don't think any of us would want to appropriate $300,000 as 4 people and say, this is what we're
yeah,
doing.
and we don't have it anyway.
Right, right. But it would either go as a warrant article or a bond. With all that information, there's going to be a discussion at a different time.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, yeah, to go on that was just we had 3 options. That was the recommended direction by facilities last time we met, but like
But I'm-
Matt said, we
but
gotta
I'm-
start somewhere. And
I'm also fine with putting this number up. If we want to spend some more money to see if Wayne can look at what it would cost to put a system that might be able to do both schools, then he can get us those numbers too, but it's going to cost more upfront to do that.
But for 26.5 though, you're not getting a recommendation, you're getting actual design, working drawings, and it's gonna act as their clerk of the works. He
Yeah.
is designing a specific system for this building.
Yeah.
It's not just a recommendation or anything, Matt. Like,
No, I know, but then the
Ryan's
public
always-
can approve it.
Huh?
Then the public can approve it or not. We're not, I know what he's doing. I know
Right, you're gonna appropriate the money and spend it tonight.
for,
26.5
for the engineering,
design for this
because-
whole thing.
because-
It's not a recommendation whether you should do controls or not do controls. He's designing that.
no, we've made the decision that we want to have the system replaced with all the information that we received, and these are the different components to having that system replaced. So he's going to give us the design and what it would cost to do all that. To spend any more money will come from the public. They make that
Right,
decision.
I get that,
Yeah.
but like I want to go back.
Yeah, it's a
Like I
specific
said, you're
system.
gonna have this-
It's a dual burner specific system.
Right, you're
Yeah.
gonna have this one down the street here, you're gonna have to right away also. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. But nobody ever looked at, and nobody never looked at, and nobody report that he had done. He never looked at doing one central heating system.
So what you're saying is you could give a little bit more money to have him look that way too? Is that what you were trying?
I would-
It would be a design,
it would be-
not look at it, I mean.
He would design 2 systems. He would design a system that works for both schools.
Well, yeah.
Well, we can do that.
Well, we're gonna, like you
I-
said,
I know.
we are gonna be faced with that.
It's the same problem with, we keep talking about the pipes that cost $67,000. You know, why don't we just take care of the whole system now? It's gonna need to be replaced, that you've
That
even
would
said
take
is gonna.
care of it, right?
Yeah,
Right, that would take care of it.
67,000,
No. If you had one central plant, that would all be eliminated.
yeah.
Right?
I mean, I don't know, you were on the committee to look at all this stuff too.
Yes.
And now we're here with what we have.
Right, but you're basing everything on that February 23rd report. That was-
Yeah. That you were on the committee that was produced from, right?
Right, and I also
Okay.
said that that wasn't what our charge was to him. We didn't deal with him directly, okay? This is what we got back from him, and we never met as a committee after that, after this report came back. So we never had no,
I don't, as a school board member, I didn't direct him to do this. There was a committee
No.
that was formed
that's right.
that I wasn't on.
Right, that committee came to the board, and to get some money to have him look at both schools, the systems, okay, what would we do? And that's where we ended as a committee, okay? Then he was hired by, I assume, the administration and given a direction to go, and this is a result of that direction. It wasn't what that committee thought they were charging him
Well,
to do.
that committee was pretty much dissolved on its own because people weren't showing up, from what I
One
remember.
meeting, Matt, one meeting,
Oh.
they didn't show up. I showed up and I sat in the parking lot because nobody else showed up from the committee members.
Yeah.
And then it was dissolved after that. And I agree, I understand.
You know, what do we want, you know, we,
I'm all for spend more money, have them look at designing a plant that will do both buildings, so you gotta get a bond for $1.5 million instead of $500,000. We gotta do it eventually,
yeah.
and that's coming right up. I ain't trying to say, no, we can't spend money, I'll spend more money, and I've always been that way with this heating system in both schools.
But I agree with you, and I would do the same. I would spend the money, the $1.5 million, to do the wood-fired boiler.
Oh, I don't-
No one else is going to spend the money. The problem is that there's only a handful of us sitting in seats. Everybody else gets upset about spending $5,000 to like do something for the school or buy a 3D printer. When we present this town with $1.5 million for a heating system, they're gonna balk at us, and then we're back to where we are.
I don't see that.
I do.
No, if it's explained.
They don't,
It's needed, what are you gonna do?
I know it's needed.
You know,
It's needed for people that have children in school, but a lot of people in this town feel like if they don't have children in school, then who
those
cares?
people don't attend to me, we know how the game.
I understand that.
I think if it's explained correctly, I think.
I
We
understand
always get
that.
the support from the town if it's explained correctly.
But
No matter what it is.
I mean, I would
We got a
love,
system down there that's older than this system, and you're telling me the reason you want to do this one first is because, and I get that. And I was the one that originally said, let's call the state and tell them, buy us some time, we're gonna work on something. No, it makes no sense to spend 40 grand out there to change the pipes, and it just put the money into the new system, I agree. But we got a whole building down there that needs work done, we know that, we're on borrowed time down there. Look at doing one central heating system, spend the money, you're gonna spend it anyways. As every year goes by, it's just gonna cost more. You know, and so you're gonna spend it regardless.
So what do you,
And I'm not talking bio, get that up, you know.
no,
Yeah,
I
we can't do
understand
that. We
that.
can't do that. That's
That
not
just
feasible.
isn't, the feasibility does not
It's
work
not
there. It was a
feasible.
great option, and believe me, I'd be all for it. It
Well,
was
I'm not-
sensible.
I mean, I'm not here trying to tell you, gee, let's not spend taxpayers' money.
I understand that.
Let's spend it, damn it, we need to.
I understand that,
So
but I,
what would the cost be roughly? I mean, I'm just saying, throw a number. If we were to expand the scope of work for this contract to include the design for a whole system for both schools, did we ever get that from him?
No,
I mean,
I don't think so.
Could you dare say it's twice as much, it's a whole nother building?
I mean, I think
Maybe
you,
it's not.
I think the money that you save,
I'll make a motion to expend up to $60,000
I mean,
tonight to look at the design.
We don't-
have a lot of money
we don't
in
have it.
Oh, we don't have it.
We don't have it.
I mean, I'm not against,
go.
and it probably will be.
We have
I mean-
113,000, and they've just allocated windows in the AC unit.
For 62.2,
Well, I get, you know,
so that leaves you at 51.
No, we tried that before, though. Then we get to the budget committee and they say, take it out.
I get it.
So I don't
I'm on
want to
the
have,
budget committee. I'll
I know,
put it
but I don't, you know, we always come back and we come in with a budget that's almost level funded or just salary increases, and we're told it needs to be reduced after we hand it off, and that's why these things happen. And my frustration isn't with you personally, but that's why we're here. And that's why we're sitting at trust fund meetings, because
I've never been-
nobody wants to do capital projects,
I completely understand.
so.
well, all I'm saying, Matt, then is, instead of voting to spend $26,000 tonight, reach out to Fillion, ask him what his fees would be. Maybe it's, you know, it's one plant, you know, 2 buildings, maybe it's 40,000 or something.
So why don't we do this then? If it's
Maybe
good,
do that as a warrant article.
What's that?
oh, why don't we, and we could do it as a warrant article,
Take
'cause
it out of your trust fund, you're still good enough, you said.
if it's 40. So why don't we,
What it comes out to.
how about, I'm gonna make a suggestion.
Why do you put that as a
We'll
warrant
just
article?
we do a budget hearing next week before our budget meeting. If they can get the information.
Well, I mean, we're not going to,
We're already gonna meet. I mean,
What?
we're already gonna meet.
That's what I'm saying, we're meeting next week.
Yeah,
Well, we have to come up with a charge for them.
Exactly. yeah.
So if we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this in a rapid pace, like you're saying, like for next week, it has to be, what is the overall cost to install a dual burner LP oil system that'll control both schools from a centralized location, including the $240,000 in controls, because that just has to be done anyway, because we need to do the controls. Right,
Well,
go ahead, dear.
And I was just gonna say, you've got almost half of the budget committee here thinking that it's a good idea to look at the central system. You know, so I think the 3 of us would try to encourage the budget committee to not slash that item.
I guess the only.
pointing out.
But there's gonna be slashes. No matter what we hand you, there's gonna be slashes. No, I mean, that's the way it's gonna be.
Well, we don't have to put it in, they can put it in.
What's that?
But you
That's
just do
true.
it as a separate warrant.
Yeah, it's fine.
I guess on the trash, you just said to.
Yeah.
Why are you saying an LP though? Why aren't we looking at other fuels?
Well, no, I said the dual burn system.
You said LP.
Oh, then I followed it up with, I think I followed it up by saying dual burner system. I was reading part of it off here to get numbers, and so LP stuck out, because that's the first thing it says.
And I don't think it's to tell them, you know, how much maybe the first one, is it feasible? Which if we go through the JCI reports and the other reports, they all say it is.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, we had discussed parking a trailer
Right.
as an option. I mean, there was a point where there's furnished trailer that could have parked and operated the
Like I said,
system.
I'm not here trying to cut you 26,000. I want to look at the big picture, and I'm fine for, I mean.
No, I
don't have a problem
understand.
with Spending it, as far as the taxpayers, I don't think that's a, you know, I don't see it as not taxed. I really don't.
I mean, if we're confident that this is a good idea, and with people sitting here, and if everybody on the board does, then, you know, I'm all for it. I mean, but it's not all my decision, it's not all, any of our decisions.
No.
But I guess go ahead, Jay.
So, I guess what I'm gathering is, what we were proposing was essentially spending $26,500 for the design of what we are going to do in this building, or what we're gonna propose to the town to do in this building. What you're suggesting is not necessarily do that, but just give Wayne Fielding money to see what other options are feasible with respect to doing both at the same time. Not necessarily asking him to design that system right now.
Well, I guess,
Well, he'd have-
is it feasible and how much it would cost?
Yeah, I mean, we'd have
Well-
to get close.
But I'm guessing like,
You could move it around.
Adding these numbers puts us in a ballpark.
well, what we have is, we have the report that doesn't seem to address the possibility of just doing a oil or gas-fired system for both schools. So have him look at that in the same fashion as he looked at biomass and looked at these other options, not without necessarily doing a full workup of the project. Is that what you're suggesting? Because I mean, I think that seems like we don't necessarily need to spend $26,000 to have him do that. That's probably.
No, I feel like he
a couple
probably,
thousand.
because he's analyzed both buildings, and from a construction standpoint, he probably has enough information in his computer to calculate the BTU capacity for one central furnace, and then it would be I might be wrong on this, but then it would just be adding, you know, extended systems for transportation of that throughout the buildings, because we are centralized, so we can't utilize any of the existing, you know, we have to tie in somewhere. But I think, I think what you're getting at is,
Yeah.
is it gonna cost 26,000? Probably not. To come up with a line item that says option 1, option 2 for essential, so we have option
Right.
1, option 2, high school, option 1, option 2, middle school, and then we have this biomass, which we have a big extra, and then we have the control system notes. So control system upgrades pretty much aren't gonna change, because that's just upgrading a system that's defunct. And then, like you said, I think it would be a matter of,
Add on to this report.
give us an option to put a plant in the center. And he should have enough information without having to come out here to actually do that, because he's analyzed both buildings. It would be just taking that BTU total and finding out what kind of furnace can handle that. I think.
Or so we think.
I mean, is that what you're suggesting, for that we should explore that option? I don't take any issue with that. I mean, if there's a potential
we can
that
appropriate
makes
this money,
financial
right.
sense,
And then
I just,
Wayne
you know,
to give us a different number.
that's something that I think we
Like
need
we're
to
not
have happen
just
quickly
spending
if we're gonna have him do that,
Right.
only because we, you know, it's
Yeah.
one of those,
Well, I think we need,
we're looking at, I mean, whether, if it's the pipes, but, you know, at some point, the state's gonna have a problem with us not doing anything about them. And it doesn't make sense for us to spend $67,000 to fix the pipes to buy us 2 years or a year to build this new facility. So, I mean, we need to have an idea of what we're gonna do quickly. But I don't mean, so I mean, it is sort of a step back, but basically we'd be just asking Wayne to explore the feasibility of a single system to service both schools.
I don't even like the word feasibility. Just give us the cost that it's gonna be. This feasibility turns into all these
Yeah, but
feasibility.
we're
Well, I mean,
acting like Wayne's
feasibility
got
is
nothing
like,
to do,
is
he's
it,
just gonna
yeah,
take
what's
the
our
phone
savings,
and
what's
take the
our,
call.
what's
Yeah.
our cost versus how much we're gonna, you know,
No, like the way that this is quickly written. It costs you $125,000, your estimated savings a year is $7,000, you run it on LP or you run it on oil.
so just give us one more paragraph in this report that says what's,
Give us a system,
can we,
if we could ask that, would be centralized and operate both schools at once. And throw in the dual burner concept, which was left out, which we were gonna ask for anyway. Correct?
Yeah, but. No, tonight you were gonna charge him with actually doing the design,
Yes.
right,
but you're gonna ask him for a price also to do the design.
So, yeah, we need to do that,
Yes.
find out what the design would be for that project as a second line, and he has to, and by next Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, Wayne's got nothing to do. I'm sure he's just gonna drop everything and get it to us by Tuesday.
Pro bono.
I
It's
know.
all said and done, and say if it comes back.
It's only been 9 years.
You may end up doing a design build or something with a company, put it out there. You know, it ain't a $25,000 job. It may end up being a design build.
The fact is, does that make everybody feel comfortable? Because we still have to, we were here to vote on something. What?
We don't have to vote on it.
No, we don't.
We just not
It's
move forward.
it's just frustrating that it's taken 9 years, you've said it, to get to a point to now kick it down the road again and say, well, let's look at something else.
But I
Like-
will say, this is furthest it's right now.
Well, we just stopped it, though.
Huh?
We just stopped it, though, and it's gonna go back
We
again.
didn't just stop it, though, because
And-
we could go with
Wayne's-
this.
In 2
Well-
weeks, when you meet again, you should have something to talk about. You should be able to have-
I'm not, well, if we're lucky, we'll have something in 2 weeks.
I mean, is there an opinion from anybody?
We don't
I
have
know
another meeting.
there's the opinion to
No,
go
this is
look
our
at this
last
other
meeting
thing.
this
Is there
month, so-
opinion to the other side? Does anybody want to vote right now? It's a
I'll make
simple question.
I'll make the motion, and then if people wanna vote, we'll vote.
You know, the reality is, you know, we're here to appropriate the money. We're not spending it this evening. You know, if we wanted to go the route of saying, we want to appropriate this money, to get the ball rolling, and now it's set aside, and then we ask Wayne Filling to do this more extensive report, and it comes back and he says, well, it's gonna be $65,000. And we
So
can
then it's a
just,
warrant article, and then
Right.
it's another year or so.
But Tony, if you appropriate that money specifically for the design of that system, you can't change it, right? Afterwards, it's already appropriated specifically.
Correct.
Right, we can put it back in and then have another meeting.
yeah.
yeah, right, that doesn't mean that it has to be spent on that.
Right,
It's
I mean, that's what
the-
we did with the windows, we never spent that.
The down the
We
road,
appropriated it and then put it back because we
yeah.
had, because we stopped that project too, because there was another idea, and then it took 2 years, and here we are talking about windows.
but that's it. If this doesn't happen, then that's what we're talking about again. We're not going to have a heating system.
Well, no, I mean, if it comes back and it's not feasible to do, I know you don't like that word, then we just vote on.
No, but we're on a time crunch, so anything we do for this year has to be done soon to get the ball rolling so that, I might be wrong,
The pipes
but
have to
so
be taken
that,
care of.
that can go to
Right.
vote.
Yeah,
So you're saying you think there's gonna be a warrant article by, you're gonna have a design done, bid.
We won't,
warrant
yeah.
article for April, is what you're saying.
No,
No way.
but at least we'll have a plan that we can
Go to the
present
state.
to the state and say, we're another year out.
For our
And
pipes.
they've dealt with this, I mean, yeah, has dealt with the state on a lot of these projects.
And Wayne may say you're not gonna save any money by doing one single thing, we just don't know, but it's just a.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, this is a, trying to get it to the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's a project that's not happening in 2019.
No.
You know, so whether we appropriate this money tonight or we talk about this again in January, whether it's the first meeting in January or the second meeting in January, at that point, we can hopefully hear back from Wayne. Like you said, he might come back and say, this isn't worth your time or money. At that point, we can start putting our plan together. It's not like the state needs our plan, you know, by December
The only way that it
31st.
would go forward is if you just said, we're gonna fix the pipes and that's it. But you decided not to, so.
Right.
it's-
Yeah.
But if we table this to a meeting in January, whether we're still going with this plan or we've now charged Wayne with giving us a different number, we can make a decision in January, one way or the other.
As far as like expending the, I mean, you're saying appropriate it tonight and then.
No,
once-
not appropriated tonight.
Oh, okay.
Information.
Because we're not meeting until January 9th, so it's, you know, even if we appropriate it tonight, with the thinking that we're not actually 100% going to spend it, we wouldn't be able to meet again to make a decision to spend it.
Yeah.
To go that route to January 9th. So I don't think there's any need to appropriate it unless we're going to say, this is it, this is the plan, we're done with this. You know, because we're looking at 2020 either way.
Yeah.
So I think that's my recommendation. Kick the can until January. Haven't kicked the can in a while, so. Vance?
I mean, we can, when we get to our regular meeting tonight, it's our last meeting until January 9th, we can just vote to post a trust fund meeting for January 9th, just in case we get the figures, or we can wait until, you know, January 23rd.
Yeah, I mean, well, we would know first, you know, I mean, how much lead time do we need to post a,
24 hours, but we have to be.
No, no, a hearing.
Post
The
it.
hearing has to be 7 days.
7 days, yeah, so we could do that first week of January in time for the 9th, if numbers are lining up for then.
But we won't be, we'd have to vote to post trust fund hearing, though. So we'd have to be here to vote. I'm thinking later on tonight, we vote to post it. We'll be there. If it's done, we can hold the hearing. If not, we don't have to have it.
Right.
We're gonna have to come in to vote to post the hearing.
Right. Okay.
That's my 2 cents.
There's no motion on the floor, so let's just move on.
Yeah, move on. All right. The next item is the use of monies from the Equipment Expendable Trust Fund for a roof monitoring system.
They're withdrawing that apparently.
Right? We're taking that off the table today?
I guess
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we have a roof monitoring system in place at the moment for snow loads. Mark has to go up there manually and check them. And I think this is for something, a more sophisticated system, but I think we're probably reaching that point in the season where they wouldn't be able to install it. So maybe this is something we talk about,
Maybe next year. Let's kick that can.
maybe 2021. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if facilities knows that or Mark can answer that.
Same thing we talked about 7 times.
Yeah. Thing you already know about. So I think we'll scratch that, so yeah, so,
I'll second.
I'll make a
Thank you.
motion to adjourn the,
thank you, Jay, thank you, Brian.
Make a motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
Not yet. All in favor for adjournment of the hearing?
aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? All right. And 7:24, I will call the board meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the regular minutes of the November 28th meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Matt, thank you, Brian. Does anybody have any corrections or comments about the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I will abstain. Any other abstentions? Just me. All right. Communication, any correspondence, Judy?
I did have some correspondence from the New Hampshire School Boards Association. And you do have some upcoming workshops, possible workshops. Obviously, the one tonight, no one was able to go to, plus it was booked, fully booked again, was the data,
Oh, yeah.
the data and security in our schools. But we are working on that in the country as well as throughout the state, so Trey is staying on top of that as much as he can.
So they've run 2 of those workshops already, right?
So far,
Yeah.
and they've been booked within a week.
And this is all the new law stuff? The stuff that regarding the new?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the other one is a dual and concurrent enrollment. That is a webinar, and that's tomorrow, Thursday, yes, tomorrow the 13th. I'm not sure what board member is a member of the delegate assembly. I'll have to look that up to see who it was. But if anyone is interested, the delegate assembly is on January 26th, it's a Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know if we actually assigned somebody to that. I
May
think
not have,
when we
because
did,
last
we
April.
were going to give it to Jasmine because she wasn't here, and I don't know if we ever spoke with her about it. when she was here.
But that's on a Saturday, the 26th, and that's from 10 to 3. You also have Right to Know law, which is March 25th from 12 to 1, and March 28th is another one in
No.
the evening.
Those are webinars, you said?
This one is in Concord.
Oh, it's an actual workshop.
28th is in Concord, and the 25th on Monday is a webinar.
Okay, yeah,
So
I've,
that's a
I've
good one.
done that webinar in the past year. It's a good
Oh,
one.
yeah, that's right.
The Right to Know law. It's very informative.
Also on Tuesday, April 9th, we have a school safety and security, which is held in Concord from 6:30 to 8:30, but those will come up again.
Yeah.
The one thing I did want to give everyone is a copy of the letter that the New Hampshire School Boards Association sent to Governor Sununu regarding summer vacation when school starts.
The school start date.
Trying to extend summer vacation to after Labor Day. So there is a letter going out. There is also by Representative Ladd, will be moving forward with an RSA or a bill that will enable all districts, if the governor goes through with this, that all districts will be local control, so,
That's the way it is now, though, anyway.
I know,
Yeah.
so it's not gonna matter
The state already
anyway.
has a recommended calendar, and 30% of the state follows it.
Right, and so he's just gonna, anyway.
I
send
shouldn't
it
say
to
that
him
number, I don't know if that's true, but not a lot.
What number did you say?
I said probably like 30% of the state follows the recommended calendar. Because the state's calendar says start after Labor Day, but I don't know many schools that do.
No, and the number is, because I read that full report that they released, was it last week, from that commission? And, I think the New Hampshire schools that are actually starting after Labor Day, it's like 30%, if that. It's gone lower and lower. And I think again, that's one of the things, I think should stay under local control, and something we've talked about in the past, whether it makes sense from year to year. When you look at a year where I think Labor Day starts, falls on September 2nd next year. So we might be having a discussion where maybe we start after. We'll talk about that when we get there with the calendar. And I think, one of the things you're probably factoring in that too is when you look at the NHIA calendar, that's rotating a week later next year. So it kind of lines up that way. It's just hard to imagine them saying you have to start after Labor Day when Labor Day is falling on the 7th. Starting school on the 8th. It's just,
And even if they say that, they can't force elected officials to vote one way or the other on their academic calendar. I don't know. I think it's a lot to do about nothing.
yeah, I would recommend reading that full report. It's interesting. As you can imagine, the lines are kind of drawn. We had local representatives from businesses here going there to make the case about business lost because kids are going back to school. But I think the thing they miss in all of that is the fact that the Massachusetts schools are going back early. That's where the bread and butter is for that. I don't know how much New Hampshire business is really factoring into that, but it's, the businesses want it that way, and it sounds like most of the education associations are all pushing to keep it local control.
Right. Exactly. And those were the only correspondences I had.
Okay.
In your memo, and you said you had that presentation. I didn't have it in my memo, in my packet or my folder.
Oh, the presentation from NCC? Yeah, that was supposed to be in, yes.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be in your packet, but Jeanette was not in this week, so
Oh.
we didn't put it in.
Sending it to her.
They were sending it to her, so I don't know if it was in.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so that definitely come to you.
Is it paper copy, or could it be?
Yeah, can we just get it electronically?
Yeah.
It could be electronic,
Yeah,
so
because they're
you
sending
probably
it
get it
out.
as soon as we
Oh,
get it.
perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
I think if we could all get it electronically, and then if somebody wants a hard copy, we
Right.
could print it out. But
Yeah, that'd be good.
And we've received no correspondence as a board. So moving on to reports. Business Administrator's report. Debbie?
Okay, there weren't any manifests tonight because I'm still working on the bills, so I hope to have that tomorrow, because Friday I'm at a conference, a Business Administrators Conference down in Bedford. So I'll send out a notice when those are done. Just a reminder that next week we have the budget meeting, and it's starting at 6:30, although we are going to have a board meeting starting at 6 to review the bids that are coming in for the high school science room. And,
So that's it, okay. Judy, superintendent's report?
Okay, there's a lot of the agenda items will cover what we're doing, and just to let the board know that we will need a non-meeting at the end of this meeting.
Okay. Scott?
Thank you. Just to let the board know that yesterday, the LWA Sunshine Committee, in conjunction with some other various student groups, held their annual holiday ornament event with grades K through 5. It was very well attended, and the kids had a lot of fun. So just want to thank all of them for their involvement. Also today, we had a special guest speaker who came in and spoke to about 40 of our students and staff this afternoon. One, Richard A. Baker, came in this afternoon to speak about his trip to Italy with bringing along various artifacts around his travels. And it was also great to kind of see him with students again, to have some interaction. They were excited to see him, and I think it was a mutual feeling.
How long was the presentation?
Mr. Baker had it set for 1 o'clock. He arrived at 11:45 to set up. Students were dismissed from lunch to be able to go and speak with him, and I believe he left approximately 2:30.
He's still here.
So he
So when is he doing parts 2 and 3?
he is. It's funny you asked that. He has reached out, and he'll be working with our student council, and he is going to be coming back for part 2.
Oh, nice.
To be talking to them, and so he's going to be coming back and doing some more work with them.
I'm sure it was a fantastic trip. I'm sure he got a lot of education back from that.
I think he had, I think, probably just as much fun describing and talking to the students.
Sure, absolutely.
It's good to see him. And just to let the board know, just as an update, next week, we only have a few shopping days left for Christmas, so next Friday is a early release day for holiday break.
Okay,
That's it.
thanks, Scott.
Did you get gift this year, Scott?
I'm working on it.
Committee reports. Do we have any committees that have met in the last couple weeks other than our,
Oh, yeah.
you got a little one or just your big one?
What's that?
So you got little committees or just your big policy committee?
Just policy. No, nothing else.
Okay. Were there any other committees that we sit on?
Wellness met, but the minutes didn't get in here.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll talk to you later.
all right. So Jay, you have the floor.
Yeah, policy committee met tonight. Myself, Judy, and Scott. Sorry, you were here. We're still working on going through the stuff based on the changes in the statute, so we're plugging away at it. There's just a lot there. The one thing that we did talk about, and I thought that I had asked to put it on the continuing business, was to poll the board about how everybody feels about this animals on the school issue that we've been talking about, or animals on school grounds issue. I took the liberty of assuming that I knew how you all felt, just based on my taking of the temperature in the room, and we've adjusted the current school policy. I would propose it as sort of a rough draft, I guess, for tonight, to just as to give the policy committee guidance as to which direction we're headed. What we've done is essentially change what was titled unauthorized animals on school grounds to just authorized, or just animals on school grounds. Basically to say unauthorized animals are not allowed in school buildings, period. Animals on school grounds must be on a leash in control, and waste must be picked up. The appropriate town official will be called and requested to impound all animals whose owners are not abiding this policy. So some of the issues were, I got the feeling that some members of the board were inclined to allow leash controlled animals allowed on the property. I think that addresses the issue that we're having now, which is we have a policy that's not being enforced, so we take that issue away. And basically, the one issue that seems to concern everybody the most, the one that we don't have any control over, which is how are people using our property when nobody's here and not cleaning up after their dogs. We can do nothing about that outside of hiring somebody to be here full-time to police that, and we're not going to do that. So one other thing is that Judy did look into the cost of some of those doggy bag poop container things. They're about $350 a piece. So, those are the ones with like a container and a disposal,
Yep.
or like the bag
The bags.
dispenser, and just putting those on the property. So, something of that nature, just to hopefully encourage the people that are using the facilities when school is not in session to take care of their animal waste appropriately. So that's what, I guess, is what we talked about. I think that if that's what the board is interested in doing with the policy, I would just ask that maybe we just take a straw poll here tonight to determine how we want to proceed on that particular policy so that we can start to actually just draft the official thing to present to the board.
Personally, I don't really feel strongly either way, as long as Primex and our attorney feels like it's acceptable, and it sounds like, although they had some recommendations, they were open to us changing it. So as long as we're all set with that, I don't really care. I mean, I think as long as it's enforceable, and what we currently have isn't, that was the major part of our discussion. I mean, what you have there sounds okay to me.
So, and just, Tony, I don't know if you were here for the discussion, but we had asked Judy to reach out to the insurance company to determine whether or not we would be opening ourselves up to some liability issues if we were to change the policy to allow leashed, controlled animals on the premises. It sounds like the main issue that Primex had was in having a policy that we were not enforcing. So it didn't seem to matter from their perspective what the policy was, as long as it was being administered in an appropriate manner. So they said keep the policy, don't keep the policy, but just enforce whatever policy you do have, is my understanding.
Yeah, I think it sounded like they said
Correct.
they didn't want us to change a policy due to enforcement issues, have a policy that was enforceable, right?
Right.
Correct, and not to not have a policy.
Right.
Yeah,
They're
we
saying
have to have the
that
policy.
have a policy, don't leave it open, but whatever the policy is, make sure you're doing you're enforcing it. This obviously makes it a little bit easier to enforce. We're basically just saying you can't have a dog running around, which my understanding, from speaking to Scott, is that that's not an issue that we're
Right.
having.
Right.
The issue that we're having is that people are bringing their dogs on the property, which is the technical violation of the policy, but it's not being enforced because it's not an actual problem, so. Does anyone have any other thoughts on that? I mean.
Yeah, I think we're heading in the right direction, because I think, as I stated in the past, I think the policy was set up to kind of, punish or try to punish people for the wrong reasons. Exactly, it's the people that are breaking the policy, the bad dog owners, they're not going to follow it anyway, and then the responsible users that would come here, and when we talk about the waste stations, I've got a dog now. I got a dog last December. I take it up to the Kanc rec area all the time. In the last year, they've installed 2 of those stations up there, one by the building, one over by the playground. And when you walk around that property, there's no dog waste anywhere. When people have the option of cleaning up, they clean up. That's what I've seen from my experience. You see it in all the condo associations now here, Deer Park, Clearbrook, Coolidge Falls.
You see it everywhere, like in
Yeah.
the cities and stuff. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just commonplace now. Probably 5 years ago, it seemed tacky to have them, but now you just see them.
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of people started to forget their bags.
Pick it up and whip
Yeah.
it in the woods.
Yeah, my only thing is in regards to the policy itself and the wording, and I think Matt might have made this point in the past, is if we had something in there that just kind of, that mirrored or alluded to following the town ordinance or the town rule, it's,
Okay.
you look at.
I think
We'll find out what that
I think
is.
it's pretty much spot on.
I think it's pretty much spot on, but if we just had language in there that said that,
Yeah.
it kind of covers us as well, but it is, leashed and under control.
I'm a yes.
And I mean, obviously, we're
I'm a
gonna have to
yes.
take some signs down, but when we get to that point, when we put up the little poop stations, it'd be nice to have some signs, just to remind people to use them, and that our children play here.
Right.
And to have a little bit of respect, so,
So just shame them into compliance.
yes, exactly.
So you're a yes?
Yeah, yes. I'm a strong yes.
Okay. All right, the yeas have it in my straw poll. We'll work on that.
All right.
Karen and I and Jasmine will work on drafting what we're going to officially propose for first reading.
Okay. Anything else new in policy?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, and then looks like we've got the IMGA service animals policy up for second reading.
I have a question on that, and I should have asked it last time, but when it asks about, or when it discusses permissible inquiries, there isn't, I didn't read anything where, can we ask them for certification? I mean, I don't care why they have the dog, but most people that have a service animal have a certification with them. We're allowed to ask that, right?
You
To-
can
To
ask.
confirm and verify that?
You can
Yes.
ask about the
Okay,
service
it says.
animal. You can ask what the
It's in
service
there? I
animal
might have
does
missed
for
it.
the person. You can't remove it, but you can
No.
remove in extreme instances, if it's disruptive, you can actually remove the animal.
That's not my concern. My concern is people saying they have a service animal and people just automatically.
No, you can
accept
request in most of, from the restaurant side of things, in hotel, like, most of the people that are following it to a T properly
Want-
are well documented.
Yeah.
They don't want you to approach their animal. They want that animal to remain as a tool that's actually helping them. So
Yep.
they're very willing to talk to you about it.
And
The
it-
defensive ones I found are typically that gray area.
Emotional support animals,
Yeah.
documented by an internet certificate.
As Patrick said,
It
the
does
emotional
allow,
support goes.
But again, the legitimate ones.
you're right.
They will always have their.
Right.
And they will, yeah.
And they want it enforced.
So it does say when it's not obvious what the role of the animal is, such as like a seeing eye dog or something of that nature, that that the district can inquire whether the animal is required because of a disability and what tasks that the animal has been trained to perform. Are you suggesting that we should add language in and also request the appropriate documentation to certify
think
that?
so.
I mean, frankly, I think,
I don't think adding the verbiage is safe.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't think that there's any reason why we can't do that. I just don't know that there's gonna be a whole lot of instances where that's necessary. I mean, I think if you say like, look, what is this for? And I think it'll be fairly obvious almost immediately based on the responses about
Right.
whether or not it's a service animal or whether it's some other, ESA, which is something that is not protected by the ADA and something that we are not required to allow people on premises with, so.
Does the verbiage talk about just basing it off of the ADA's recommendation, like what their policy is?
Yeah, so there's 28 CFR
Yeah.
35104 is actually.
The ADA one.
It's the Code of Federal Regulations verbiage with respect to what is a service animal. And so, there's a difference between what a service animal is. There's also, language at the beginning that basically ties our policy to the ADA and the accompanying regulations, which are the CFRs. So, we are putting a policy in place that allows for legitimate service animals to be used in the school as we're required to allow. What we are not doing is allowing, sort of non-legitimate, or I'm not going to say non-legitimate, because I think
We can't make that.
ESAs are legitimate, they're just not protected under the ADA, and it's
Right.
not something that we have to necessarily allow, and I think if it's not a legitimately trained service animal, there's concern amongst the board members, and I think there were some community members that expressed the same concern, that system, as of late, is being abused by people that are obtaining faulty or illegitimate certificates on the internet for $50, and being, using that as a mechanism to be able to take their animals wherever they want, which is not the type of thing that we are prepared to allow, and not something that we're required to allow under the law.
I just want to caution the board, of course, that do we want to get into having to verify each and every one, and how much of an issue has it been so far? And what I would be willing to do is to contact the Disability Rights Center and find out what the state's currently doing, and what the parameters are.
But is this,
Or-
we're not saying that we're gonna,
Yeah, no, I don't think the
Inquire on
policy is
regular.
saying, I mean, that we're going to inquire into everybody. I think what it says is that if it's not patently obvious what on its, like somebody's, if it's not clear why somebody has a service animal, the policy, and I think the law allows us to say, hey, what's the deal with this animal, and, is it necessary, and what's its training? so that we can sort of verify allowing, a basis for allowing it into the building. From my understanding, from speaking with the administration, that this is not a problem that we've run into yet.
No.
No.
It's not one that we necessarily anticipate, but I think we should have a policy in place to address it if it does come up. But I don't think that this is something that we're going to see a whole lot of.
And the policy in front of us, this is straight from their recommended policy, right? You
Yeah.
didn't change any of the wording?
Correct.
Okay. It's probably the safest way to go.
But we had to change what's already been written.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm questioning.
Right, yeah.
So what's written currently is fine with me, Jay. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
if we were going to make changes,
Oh, yeah.
additional
Yep,
changes.
yep. Yeah, and I think that we're adopting the policy. The issue, I guess, is we didn't have a policy to begin with.
Right.
And so, I think this addresses pretty much everything that we were concerned about, and, addresses the use of animals for kids on 504 plans or IEPs and things of that nature, and so and it addresses the responsibilities of the owner of the service animal to, keep the animal in control and all that stuff, so, I don't know that, given that this area of law is particularly fraught with litigation, the ADA, it may not make sense for us to make any ad hoc adjustments to the recommended policy, because I think it's fair to assume that this has been vetted by the School Board Association and probably the DRC as well to determine its compliance with applicable statutes and regulations.
I agree.
So I'll make a motion to accept or approve policy IMG-A, service animals.
Thank you, Matt.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, moving on. Business requiring board action.
I have none.
Nothing, okay?
Did we already post? Do you already vote to post for next week?
No, we did not.
So we need to do that, right?
Or
For December 19th. We're gonna meet,
We have a meeting at 6.
I can't remember if we voted to, I don't think we did that, did we?
Just a regular, I know you talked about it last year.
Just a regular-
The bids. that you're just gonna
just a
start.
regular school board meeting, right?
Yeah.
So we wanna post the school board meeting at 6, right before the budget meeting, right? We have to do that.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to post a special school board meeting at 6 PM on December 19th
No,
for
we
the purposes
don't.
of,
We don't have to vote on that, do we? To post,
The
to
post-
schedule a
it's not
meeting?
It's not a special meeting. It's just a school board. We're just adding a school board meeting, right?
You're going to add another school
right,
board
well, it's
meeting?
not posted.
No, it will be.
We just
we
have to
just-
make sure it's
we just
posted.
say we're
If you
gonna
want to, yeah, you can make a motion, we'll approve it. But
right,
I
no.
don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Is it?
I guess not. I guess not.
Adding.
We're just adding a school board meeting, so it just has to be posted within the time frame.
Within the time frame, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's
in the
not-
like in the past,
I don't
we've
want
had
it to
those
get confused
emergency
as being
school
a
board
special
meetings.
meeting or something. It's
Well,
just a-
sorry, special was our additional meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had those in the past, like when we had to have like emergency meetings to approve coaches.
But we want to have one, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
I mean,
Just because
We don't
it's
need,
not-
we don't
it's
need to
not-
make it, we don't need to approve it. We
I know,
don't-
but we don't, it's not,
can everybody be here?
we do whatever we want.
Yeah.
But I commend you, Vance, for being thorough.
No, I mean, we tend to be a board, I don't think we've ever had everybody here, so hopefully we have 4 people here at 6 o'clock,
Got me, buddy.
I'll be,
so,
I'll be there.
I'm not coming now.
Cuts into my practice time, but
okay.
I'm gonna have to steal your practice time. So 6 o'clock on the 19th. Okay, there's no new business on the agenda. I don't know if anybody had any new business, items to put on for the next agenda. Again, if nothing comes to mind now and it comes between now and then, we can always forward it along to Judy or myself, and we will get it on there for discussion. Continuing business, the 2019-2020 budget. So we had our first budget session, work session last Wednesday, and we were able to get through the whole budget as far as line by line, beginning to end. And we haven't really had any discussion as a board yet as far as, any changes or additions from there. And I think we had the questions. Did we want to go over those tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go over those tonight.
I think people were asked to forward questions to administration for some clarification on budget items, so we have the replies for us.
Do we have, that's a quick question, do we anticipate any presentations? Like last year, there was a couple of different, bigger ticket items that had some people come in and talk about them. Do we anticipate that there's going to be any way this?
We could have presentations, with the,
No, I'm just wondering if there's, last year we were just told that these people are going to come in and talk to us. And
Yeah, well, like I said,
there wasn't anything
those
that I thought needed one. I was just wondering if there was.
Yeah, I don't think there's any large items like you
Yeah.
mentioned that.
Okay. So get more, you guys can share that. I wanna hear it.
I was just like, oh, it's a little greedy.
I mean, Jay, you could play on the piano for us, and we can see if that piano definitely needs replacing.
It will sound like it does, no matter what I.
So I'm figuring.
Does or not.
So I didn't volunteer myself. So were all these questions generated by board members?
And budget.
And the budget committee as well, okay.
I think they're all me, actually. When I have all of my questions.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So I don't know if we feel the need to go through these one by one, or do you want to just spend a few minutes reviewing it and then ask any questions? What's everybody feel? I mean, we all have the information.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad to have the answers to the questions so quickly, but personally, I don't want to get involved in a budget committee discussion at a board meeting and extend it.
No, and I think, it's nice to have this information and take it home and digest it and then be prepared for the next budget work session.
With
my
additional clarifying questions if we have them, or
Yeah.
the budget committee members have them.
Right. Yeah, and I agree, I have, we probably all have, or most of us will have some questions or other concerns or additions, subtractions to the budget that it's better served discussing in a full budget work session. So I think if everybody's content with just taking this information and digesting it at your own speed, we'll be ready for next week.
Sounds good.
The next item under continuing business is the elementary NPR flooring.
We're still waiting for word.
Waiting for a little more information.
Okay.
No update.
Collected some.
Yeah, we did collect some.
I did some research and stuff, if you want to hear about it.
I mean, we're waiting
Sure.
for information on different product, or,
Yeah.
again, I wasn't
Yeah,
here
we're
last meeting,
basically,
so.
what we were discussing was looking further into
Safe.
alternatives to the Nor floor
Sure,
for this,
yeah.
for this. surface.
Something that's more appropriate for this space.
Exactly.
The one that's being passed around now is from Stuart Anderson. We
Okay.
reached out to him and to see what ones he would kind of look at and look at.
Just
There's
yeah,
many
just other schools you
varieties
see.
of these board floors. It's called pattern floor flooring. And they range anywhere from $10 to $12 a square foot, but the upkeep and maintenance is every 10 years they have to be resurfaced. And it costs them about $2 a square foot.
$2 a square foot for resurfacing. Do you recall, I had asked you after the meeting last night, what your estimated cost on this nor flooring was? You said somewhere
It's
21?
close to $21 square.
Okay. So we could get,
This room's 2,400 square.
so,
So we get 20 years out
so
of
we
it,
get 11,
if we did it twice.
Yep.
It's a safer product.
you said it was $2 a square foot for resurfacing?
Yeah.
In 10 years.
In 10 years. So in 10 years, we spend 4,000, we spend another $2 a square foot. So we can actually resurface it 5 times before we
Yeah.
get to $21 a square foot.
Pretty much. 50-year floor.
Okay, so that seems like a reasonable thing to be looking into.
You know, we looked at different types of flooring. A lot of the stuff is just way too soft. This stuff seems to be the best for, for younger kids and whatnot, people falling.
You talking about this stuff?
Yeah. Now, you gotta understand that, this is just one brand, okay?
Okay.
Kanc Floors puts out another one that's called Soft Floor. There's all different makes. But this is one that I researched Kanc, and they're $10 to $12, like I said, per square foot installed.
Okay.
And you can see the different layers that they have and the different balance and stuff.
Now, you might not have the answer to this, but do you know of any places within driving range that have these that,
I'm sure there is.
to see firsthand?
I don't have it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Epoxy, so we must pour the rubber
Stewart,
granules in and have
Yeah.
it solidified in a glue.
Oh, right,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and references and everything. I'm sure they
Yeah,
could
because we
easily
had
get
asked
that.
if he had seen other types of flooring.
Right.
Yeah,
That's around.
cool. Okay, so it sounds like it's well worth looking into
Yeah.
maybe further and before we make any decisions about what we're gonna do with the floor. We'll just put that on the facilities committee. You got that, right, Brian?
Yeah. Can I have this?
Agreed.
Is that, I didn't pay attention to the, is there a company like website on that sheet?
This says call me for information.
Okay.
It really does in the top corner.
Call for
Call.
professional.
But maybe could we reach out to, have you talked to anybody or did you just get this as a product line from Stewart?
This one we got from Stewart, okay?
Yeah, so like he goes through a materials list and comes up with product lines, but is it backed up, does he have a person that handles this product locally or New Hampshire, or is it just a product that he's researched for us?
There's some of the research, this is research right here. Kanc Floors I have contacted.
Okay, so you have a contact, that's what I meant, did you had somebody that does this particular product?
I'd go that way because it's more appropriate.
I mean, it already seems like a better winner so far,
I know there was some.
in the 30 seconds we've researched it. It's got all pictures of basketball courts. I've never seen a Nora flooring basketball court picture, that's all.
There you go, you can have that, sir.
But this one has pictures of basketball courts, tracks. Comes in cool colors, looks a lot like this gym.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty
love
quality
check.
product, especially for the price, and I think, this floor is something that has been a topic of discussion the last couple of years as far as moving it up in the rotation for floor replacement, just because of the activity that goes on here and the safety that is related to that. So I think it looks like we're heading in a good direction to looking at getting pricing for that for the spring, for an article.
Seems pretty cool.
So we'll get that back.
Recycled.
Back from, yeah, the cushion layer there.
I'm all for that, made out of tires.
I got some tires.
100% though recycled, which is pretty cool. Not like we say recycled and then they're like, oh, we only used a tire.
Yeah, there's a tire in there somewhere. So does anybody have any other questions on that flooring? I mean, obviously we'll go to facilities and we'll get more details.
Yeah, and I'll
going forward.
just add real quick that I'm continuing to get a little bit more information from my contact and, just to give to you guys to add to the discussion.
Okay. I had one question. So we have a budget work session next week, and I see today posted there's a budget committee meeting tomorrow, is that correct?
There is a budget committee meeting tomorrow evening at 6:30.
At 6:30?
That will take place in the middle high school library. That's planned.
Okay. Who's the rep? Vance's, he can't be there, I can't be there. So, just like our public body, those minutes have to be available within how many hours? Is it 48, 72, or like the budget committee meeting?
24.
It's 24, okay. So we should be able to have those,
Yeah. Oh, you mean the minutes?
yes, the
Oh.
minutes.
Yeah, it's the same, it's the same as the
It's the
school.
same as the school board, okay.
School board.
So we'll have them at least before next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Staff, you're over here now.
I am. The meeting was going a little long, so I needed
You need
an
more
outlet.
power.
Yeah, sorry. From Mrs. Krill, the senior class visited Plymouth State University last Thursday, taking a tour, meeting with an admissions officer, and of course, having lunch in one of the fabulous dining halls. Even when the sixth graders go for the kids to college field trip, that's a big hit. It's the meals.
Yeah.
Dimitri Spanos placed first in the annual Rotary Speech Contest. He will move on later in the year, competing against representatives from Plymouth and Bristol. Finalists for this round included freshman Andrew Wilson and Marjorie Keniston, sophomore Silas Whedon, and senior Maddie Chase. All students should be congratulated. Yesterday, as Mr. Curry mentioned, was the LWEA 35th Annual Holiday Craft Fair. That was pretty impressive, 35 years. Also was our Poetry Out Loud classroom competitions are being held next week, so please reach out to Mrs. Witcher or Mrs. Krill if you would like to see the performance in action. Mr. Baker returned today, as you heard. Next week, recent Lin-Wood graduates will return to discuss over lunch with this year's seniors the first year of life beyond Lin-Wood, whether that be college, the workforce, or branches of the military. We're looking forward to hearing about their experiences. From Mrs. Burho, on December 4th, the elementary chorus performed a couple of seasonal songs for the Senior Citizens Christmas Party held at the Woodstock Station and did a super job. Also, tonight, members of the middle school and high school choruses who wish to participate will be strolling carolers at the Woodstock Winter Festival. Lin-Wood students in grades 5 through 12 will, I think this is from Mrs. Krill, will have the opportunity to participate in the first ever Magnify Voices short film and essay competition. The goal is for students to raise awareness for mental health issues in order to eradicate the stigma associated with them. There are different submission topics, and students can work in a team of up to 4 people. A number of staff have offered to advise a small group. Once we know which students are interested, there will be an informational meeting on Monday. And from middle school, grades 6, 7, and 8 traveled to Concord last week for a slam poetry performance by the Mayhem Poets at the Capitol Center. There were messages of acceptance of people who are different, concerns for the environment, and dealing with difficult family relationships for some of the ones that were highlighted and written about, along with different variety of poem formats and delivery. A quote from a student was, "I thought it was going to be boring, but it wasn't."
Thank you, Ms. Steve.
Yes.
Community.
Where did you say we're meeting tomorrow? The middle high school library.
Okay, because when I talked to you yesterday, it was here.
Right, that's why, I just found out today, so I emailed you.
Not a problem, thank you.
I have a question about the budget meetings. Do we record those as well?
The budget committee?
Yeah.
We haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Is anybody opposed to are you guys opposed to having those recorded like we do school board meetings? No?
I think I'd rather pull the entire committee along and ask them their opinions.
It's a public meeting though, right?
Yes.
I think it'd be, personally, I think it'd be a good idea if we report all of them, because there were some things said at last year's meeting that got discussed here.
Yeah.
That people seem to forget what was said.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I got no problem with it, that's all transparency.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from Joe?
Well, I just have a quick question. Does anybody know, Rebecca was talking about the poetry out loud. Does anybody know the date for the one that's over in the?
Jeans?
I do. I'm gonna check my phone yet, but see, this is school business. Not like I got copies.
I love watching that, so I was just curious.
Oh, no, it's awesome.
It's the end of January.
Yeah, I'd say it's like late January usually, right?
Yeah.
Like a
I just-
Wednesday or Thursday? Yeah, Mike?
Are you gonna, this, is Lauren gonna try to be on a warrant article for this year?
Yes, it's part of the flooring project.
I thought I heard you something about for the spring, that's why you meant for the annual meeting.
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah, for March.
I have Tuesday, January 29th at 5 at Jeans. 29th at 5.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Really good.
Anything else? No? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Matt.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned.
We have a non-meeting now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep,
Does that
yep.
mean non-public or non?
Yeah, it's non-public, but it's
It's 9 millimeters, just under a centimeter, right?
publicly.
We can't
Probably not meeting.
we can't make decisions, vote or anything. It's more of an informational thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
That doesn't fall under the non-public.
That's the
RSA.
thickest product, like it runs in 4 to 6 to 9. I was just concerned, when you look at that picture, you know it's not making out the door, it's on concrete.
Right.
That's really not much. You just have a transition piece.
No, but that, you know, that or